Hello, everyone. It's Rabbi Akiva Males, and I hope that you're well. I wanted to share with you a Dvar Torah before Shavuos, something that I hope might give us pause, give us something to think about, and inspire us this Shavuos, and give us something to think about as we read Megillas Rus on Shabbos. I wanted to start by telling you about a story that happened to me. It was really 25 years ago. 25 years ago was the summer of 1995. I'd gone back to learn for a few months in Israel in yeshiva, and I remember I was going to be returning to my parents' home in Cleveland that summer. And the yeshiva I was learning, I was Yeshiva Chavetz Chaim in Yerushalayim, and on my way to the airport, I was going to stop at one of my brother's homes. I have two brothers who live in Israel. One lives in a yeshuv called Michmas, and the other lives in the community of Telstone. Telstone is on the way to the airport. So I was going to go with all my luggage to my brother and his family in Telstone. I think I was going to have dinner there. And then I was going to catch a cab from there to go to the airport to return to America for the summer, whereupon I think I returned to Israel after the summer for the Yom Tovim and to spend more time studying there. So here's what happened. My brother in Telstone told me that he was able to find a ride for me. Someone that he knew who lived in his community was going to be driving by my yeshiva and would be able to give me a ride from yeshiva to Telstone. So that was wonderful. So I had a lot of luggage with me. I had two duffel bags, two big suitcases of luggage and my carry-on. And I was going to, now I had a ride that was going to take me to Telstone. Well, the ride did take me to Telstone, but he stopped when he got to his building. My brother lived up the hill. So I'll never get this memory out of my mind. I thanked him for the ride. I was in a little bit of disbelief. He pulled into the parking area right by his building and wished me a good day. And then I had these two heavy suitcases and my carry-on, and I had to schlep them up the hill to my brother's apartment. In his car, this would have been nothing more than maybe even a 1.5 minute drive. But now schlepping these two heavy suitcases and the carry-on became a real ordeal. And I remember it was summertime, and I was schwitzing. By the time I got the suitcases up the stair to my brother's and the family's apartment, I was drenched from head to foot in sweat, now getting ready for this long transatlantic flight to America. And I have nothing but appreciation for the ride that he gave me to Telstone, but I couldn't help but think, why did he stop halfway? He was already doing a chesed. Why couldn't he just go all in? Why couldn't he do a complete act of chesed and not do a half-baked job? Again, it was great what he did, but it would have been so much better if for just a little bit, taking him 1.5 minutes to drive me up the hill to my brother and family's apartment. But instead, I was left at the bottom of the hill having to schlep those big, heavy suitcases up there. And I think about this every year as Shavuos comes by, because there's a very famous medrash on Megillas Rus. Megillas Rus in Perek Bey is the second chapter, Pasuk Yud Daled 14. So you see that Rus has already met Boaz. Hashkacha had it that the field that she picked to collect leket and shikha, and those were the gifts that were left for the poor when the harvesters had gone through, worked over the field, what they had left behind, what they forgot to load on the wagons, those were left for those who were destitute. The field that Rus had chosen to collect in was the field of Boaz. And Boaz was a relative of her late husband and that whole side of the family. So she meets Boaz, and the pasuk tells her, "Vayomer la Boaz leisa ochel." Boaz says to her when it was time to eat lunch, "Goshi halom ve'achalt min halechem." Come over here and you could partake. You could have some of the bread that I have. The tavalt pitech bachometz. Dip your bread into this vinegar. Vateshev mitzara kotzrim. And she sat by the harvesters, and that's what she did. Vayitzbot la kali vatochal vatispa vatosar. He handed her some kali. Kali translated into parched grains, some roasted grains. That's what he gave her to enjoy for lunch. And that's what she did. She ate some, she was satisfied, and she had some left over that she could save for later. That's what Boaz gave her for lunch that day. And the Medrash says on this the following, a famous Medrash. I'll read it to you in the original. It's very short. We'll translate it together. Amar Rabbi Yitzchak Bar Merion. Rabbi Yitzchak Bar Merion taught the following idea. Ba kasav lamedcha. The pasuk is coming to teach us the following idea. Shimon mitzvah, if a person's already going to engage themselves in the involvement of a mitzvah, yasena b'lev of shalom, go all in, do it with a complete heart, don't do a half-baked job. She'ilu haya Reuven, yodea sha'kadosh baruch hu machtil b'lav, vayishma Reuven vayatzileh me'adam. In Parshas Vayeshev, we read that the brothers initially wanted to kill Yosef when they saw him coming, and Reuven didn't want to kill him. So what did Reuven want to do to save him? He wanted to toss him into a pit, and he was thinking, when the brothers leave, I'll come and I'll rescue him, and I'll bring him back to Yaakov, to the father. But that's not what happened. Unbeknownst to Reuven, the brothers had him sold, where he was sold. However, that transpired. So Reuven lost that opportunity. So if Reuven would have known that his actions were being recorded in the Torah, so the Medrash says, he would have put Yosef on his shoulders, and he would have ran back to Yaakov's house carrying Yosef on his shoulders. He would not have done a half-baked job. And in Parsha Shemos, if Aaron, the brother of Moshe Rabbeinu, if he would have only known that God was going to record in the Torah, that Aaron was going to come out to the Midbar to greet Moshe, when Moshe, after the incident of the sneh, the burning bush, and he's told to return to Mitzrayim, Hashem tells Moshe that Aaron is going to come and greet you in the Midbar. So if Aaron would have known that this is being recorded, it says, Betupim u'b'mecholos haya yotzei l'kroso. Aaron would have gone out with all sorts of musical instruments. He would have put together a marching band. He would have made a parade for Moshe to reunite him with Klal Yisrael. He didn't realize he was being recorded. And you can imagine the regret that Reuven has every year at Parshas Vayeshev, and that Aaron has every year at Parshas Shemos. But finally, the Midrash gives us the third example. Boaz, if Boaz would have only known that God was going to record in Megillas Rus, now what did he give her for lunch that day? Some parched grains, some roasted grains. That's what he gave her. She ate some, she was satisfied, and she socked some away for later. If that's what was going to be written, and if Boaz would have only known that, Agolos mefutamos hayamachila. He would have given her fattened calves. He would have given her the finest meat. He would have had the biggest roast, whatever it was. He would have prepared a banquet for her. If he only would have known that his actions, his deeds were being recorded, and all of Klal Yisrael was going to read that every year on Shavuos, he would have said, why am I doing a half-baked job? It's great that I did this chesed. I gave her those grains, and she was able to eat them. But if I knew it was being recorded, I would have given her a full-course meal. It would have been a banquet, a royal feast. That's what he would have done. And you can only imagine every year Shavuos, as we read Megillas Rus, up in Shemayim, you can imagine Boaz shaking his head saying, oh, yeah, I wish I could have a do-over. I wish I could repeat that and do it again. The Medrash is teaching us a lesson. If we're already involved doing a mitzvah, if we're already involved in a chesed, we're doing something for another member of Klal Yisrael, we don't do a half-baked job. We go all in. And let's make sure to do it right. Let's realize it's being recorded, and let's make sure to do it right. The Medrash tells us something else fascinating about Megillas Rus. The Medrash says as follows. Amar Reb Zera taught as follows. Megillah Zo, this Megillah of Megillas Rus, Ein bo lo tuma v'lo tara. There's no great chidushim. There's no laws about ritual purity and impurity. V'lo isser v'lo heter. There's no great laws that teach us the halachas of what's mutter, what's permissible, and what's forbidden. There are plenty of details that come up in this Megillah, but there doesn't seem to be anything really novel that if we would not have had this Megillah, there's something we would have missed out on. So Reb Zera wants to know, what was the point? What was the point of Megillas Rus? So he says as follows, V'lama nichtava. So why was it written, and why did our Nevi'im leave it for us? L'lamedcha, in order to teach us as a lesson, schar tov l'gomlei chasadim. The great reward for those who do chesed. Now, what is that going on? What is that going on? What's the pasuk that this medrash is going on? It's at the beginning of Rus, when Naomi loses her husband and her sons, and she decides she's destitute, she's going to leave the land of Moab and return to Eretz Yisrael. Rus decides to stay at her side. And the pasuk says, "Vatomer Naomi l'shtei kaloseh." She says to her two daughter-in-laws. At that point, Orpah was there too. Lechna shovna isha leveis ima. Go back to your mother's home. Yasa Hashem imachem chesed kasher asisem imamesem imadi. And Hashem should repay you for the chesed that you've done for those who are no longer here, for the mason, for the departed, for her husband Elimelech, and then for her sons Machlon and Chilion, who Orpah and Rus were married to. Hashem should reward you for what you've done for them and for what you've done for me. That's what Naomi says to Rus and Orpah. And Orpah leaves, but Rus decides to stay at her side, and you can imagine how she's rewarded for chesed. The Megillah ends by telling us that the reward, the great reward that Rus had for the great chesed that she did for her mother-in-law, Naomi, was that she's the Im Shamalcha. She becomes the matriarch of Klal Yisrael. She becomes the queen mother. She becomes the great grandmother of David HaMelech. That is awesome. That's the lesson that the Medrash is saying. Rav Zera is teaching us about Megillas Rus to tell us the power of chesed. So now that we've got this from Megillas Rus, that we're reminded how special it is to be engaged in chesed, we have that first teaching of the Medrash says, yes, and when we're engaged in chesed, we don't do half-baked jobs. Let's go all in, like what's being recorded and that Klal Yisrael is going to read about it. That could motivate us to make sure that we do an absolute, complete job. So let's learn from these midrashim on Rus. Let's learn the importance of chesed. Let's recommit ourselves to being Baalei Chesed, people who are going to be engaged in Chesed, looking out for others who need a helping hand, for others who need some assistance in any way that it might be. And let's remember that when we're engaged in that Chesed, we're going to go all in. We're not going to stop at any half measures. We're going to make sure that we do a complete job. Layla and I want to take this opportunity to wish you and your family a good Yom Tov, a Chag Sameach. This should be the last Yom Tov that we have to spend apart from one another. Yirtzeh Hashem, God willing, from this point on, all of our Yom Tovim should be able to be spent with one another, in each other's company, davening with one another, and enjoying one another's company with family, friends, the way Yom Tov is supposed to be. May HaKadosh Baruch Hu put an end to this pandemic. May He respond to all of our tefillos, to all of our prayers that we're offering. Heal all who need to be healed. Give nechama, provide His true comfort to all those who need that comfort. Nechizuk, the support to all those who are suffering throughout this crisis. And may this pass, and may HaKadosh Baruch Hu bring us that geula, that we should see the Malchus Beis David, the Davidic dynasty that we read about in Megillas Rus. We should see that restored speedily in our days. Have a good Yom Tov, everyone.